Welcome back to Kleppers Corner Today in History, the only place where we celebrate history not because it's educational, but because it's weird, petty, dramatic, and sometimes just straight up bonkers. Today we're looking at August 18th, a date that is basically a historical clearance rack. You got suffrage movements, lost colonies, Mongol invasions, helium discoveries, and even a creepy Russian novelist who accidentally invented the world's most awkward book club discussion. August 18th, because nothing says fun with dates like women's voting rights and a marauding horde from the 1200s. Segment 1, the vote that was heard, ratification of the 19th Amendment, 1920. So let's start in 1920 with the ratification of the 19th Amendment, the one that finally gave women the right to vote. And by finally, I mean after 72 years of marching, protesting, and telling men, no, seriously, we can handle putting the check mark in a box without fainting. This wasn't just some polite Tea Party campaign. Oh no, you had decades of knockdown, drag-out political trench warfare. Suffragists weren't just waving signs, they were picketing the White House, chaining themselves to fences, and in Alice Paul's case, going on hunger strikes in prison. You know things are bad when your activism plan literally includes step 3, starve myself until a president feels guilty. And it all came down to one guy in Tennessee, 24-year-old Harry T. Byrne. He was expected to vote against suffrage until he opened a letter from his mom that said, "Harry, be a good boy and vote yes." And that was it. One mom guilt trip later, 26 million women had the right to vote. Imagine if your mother's passive-aggressive notes on the fridge changed the Constitution. Be a good boy, Harry. Also, clean your room and call your grandmother. Of course, the story doesn't end there. Black women in the South were still disenfranchised by poll taxes, literacy tests, and good old-fashioned intimidation. Because America never lets progress be too progressive. It's always like, yes, you can have rights, but also, here's 18 new ways we're going to make them impossible to use. Segment 2. An element from the sun, the discovery of helium, 1868. Jump back to 1868. French astronomer Pierre Janssen and British astronomer Norman Lockyer both discover something weird in the sun's corona. A strange yellow spectral line that wasn't sodium. So naturally, the British guy claims, "That's a new element. It's mine. I'm naming it after the sun." Because, of course, the Brits had a habit of naming things they didn't own. And so, helium was born, which sounds fancy until you realize today it's mostly used for party balloons, squeaky voices, and science nerds who need to cool their giant magnets. That's right, helium is the thing standing between us and MRIs that sound like broken washing machines. What's crazy is that helium was discovered in the sun before it was discovered on Earth. That's like saying, we found a new food. Only in space. Don't worry, eventually we'll find some in lava rocks. And today, helium is so essential that countries are hoarding it like it's the last pack of toilet paper during a pandemic. Imagine explaining to Pierre Janssen that his little yellow line in the sky would one day keep Elon Musk's rockets from exploding. He'd probably say, "What's a rocket? Also, who the hell is Elon Musk?" Segment 3. America's oldest mystery, the vanishing of the Roanoke colony, 1590. Okay, now let's go all the way back to 1590. Governor John White sails back to his colony on Roanoke Island only to find nothing. The settlement is empty, houses dismantled, everyone gone. It's the Elizabethan version of showing up to your Airbnb and finding the key under the mat, but no actual house. The only clue? The word Croatoan carved into a post, which is either the colonists saying, "Hey, we moved to Croatoan Island, come find us," or it's just history's longest running prank. Because even now, we don't know what the hell happened. Theories range from assimilation with local tribes, to starvation, to aliens, because let's be real, anytime white people disappear, someone immediately blames aliens. Personally, I like to think the colonists just went, you know what? England sucks. Let's go hang with the Croatoans. They've got corn and they don't wear itchy collars. And shout out to Virginia Dare, born August 18th, 1587, the first English baby born in the Americas, which is pretty symbolic. Nothing says welcome to the new world like immediately disappearing into a mystery that will baffle Americans for 400 years. Segment 4, the Conquerors End, death of Genghis Khan, 1227. Now for a real throwback. August 18, 1227, the day Genghis Khan died. The man who built the biggest land empire in history, uniting the Mongols and conquering from China to Europe, died possibly by falling off a horse. which, if true, is like Napoleon dying in a go-kart accident. His death was kept secret until his army finished annihilating the Tangut kingdom, because heaven forbid you pause world domination for a funeral, and his burial site, totally hidden. Some say his funeral procession killed everyone who saw it, which is extreme even by Mongol standards. Imagine being the mailman that day. But here's the thing about Genghis Khan. He wasn't just a brutal conqueror. He was also a weirdly progressive administrator. He had religious tolerance, a postal system, and even meritocracy in the military. So yeah, he might burn your city to the ground, but he'll make sure the mail still gets delivered and you can worship whoever you want. That's what we call good management with bad HR. And his empire actually created the Pax Mongolica, which made the Silk Road safe and kickstarted global trade. Without Genghis Khan, who knows? Maybe we wouldn't have pizza, or paper money, or the Kardashians. Okay, maybe he could have stopped that last one. Segment 5, A Literary Firestorm, publication of Lolita, 1958. Finally, let's fast forward to 1958, when America first got its hands on Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita, a novel about a middle-aged man obsessed with a 12-year-old girl. Which, yeah, gross. But Nabokov wrapped it in prose so beautiful that critics were like, this is art. But also, ew. Publishers originally wouldn't touch it. They were afraid of going to jail. One guy literally said, we'd all go to prison if we published this, which is exactly the kind of book teenagers immediately want to read. When it finally got published in the US, it became a bestseller because nothing sells like scandal. It also kicked off a national debate about censorship, art, and morality. Basically, the 1950s version of a Twitter flame war, but with better vocabulary. And let's be honest, Nabokov was trolling us. He wrote a novel that forces you to admire the language while hating the narrator. It's like listening to a song that slaps only to realize it's about tax evasion. The prose seduces you, then slaps you in the face with moral horror, which frankly is still more nuanced than half the stuff on Netflix today. So that's August 18th, the day women got the vote, helium got discovered, colonists got lost, Genghis Khan got dead, and Nabokov got published. A true historical buffet. Some victories, some mysteries, some conquests, and one really uncomfortable novel. History isn't neat, it's messy, dramatic, and sometimes it comes down to a mom writing a note that says, be a good boy. And honestly, isn't that America in a nutshell?